Okay, I'll get into it after we get our intros done. We are going to be jumping into Ancient Cistern for game number 1 of our best of 3 series here. It is going to be yet another ZvP. And over here in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in this top right-hand corner of the map, we have our blue Zerg player coming out from the land of Korea, representing Alpha X. We have RagnaroK.
And in the bottom left of Ancient Cistern, we have the red Protoss, representing, I think, still EXO. It is DaSh.
I believe so.
Also known as the barcode.
Yep.
Yes, I will quickly replace that.
One of the best players to come out from the Philippines, DaSh is. But as I was saying, for those who weren't in the know, the way score reporting works for KungFu Cup is instead of, messaging admins and telling them, hey, I won my series 2-0, or my opponent beat me 2-0, or what have you, the players are responsible for inputting the scores themselves on Challenge Bracket. So, when we look over at Skillus versus Rewhite, Skillus did beat Rewhite by a score of 92-8, apparently.
What?
That's what it says. I'm not questioning it. 92-8. They played out 100 maps.
That's very specific.
In that time.
Okay, sure.
It is what it is. But for now, we are going to be jumping into our own series. Yet another ZvP, and one that I have to wonder how this game is going to play out, because when I think of DaSh, I think of that player who out-Starducked Starduck way back in the day. He just came out with some completely random builds that got some of the best players in Southeast Asia / Oceania, caught him completely off guard. I believe he actually beat Gogo Joey in a Grand Platypus Open a while back, so yeah, DaSh is definitely not a player who you want to underestimate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's one of these up-and-comers that have been here for a while and, slowly getting there to the top, and he's definitely been improving lately, but we'll see if he can bring the game for the Ragnar.
Yeah, so far, we're in game number 1. It makes sense that neither of our players wants to do anything too unorthodox. They just kind of want to suss each other out in a sense. We see an Oracle being produced from DaSh. We see a third hatch coming out from RagnaroK.
Yeah, no aggression from either side, just macroing up, making those drones, making those probes, and then we'll see what's next.
As we wait in anticipation. See DaSh not looking to neglect his own economy. Alright, just scouting around, he takes note of that probe coming down.
And I believe he might have spotted a glimpse of the Oracle, but I'm not quite sure. But it looks like this Oracle is mostly to defend the third base. We'll just be scouting around, but it is now going to the other side of the map.
Interesting how both of our Protoss players tonight have opted for defensive oracles, so at least initially have opted for defensive oracles against RagnaroK.
I mean, makes sense. RagnaroK definitely can be very aggressive at times, but it looks like he is prepared for this Oracle, especially after last game.
Yeah, a little bit of a warm-up against Nightmare before going into DaSh. It's one hell of a warm-up, let me tell you. But in the meantime, we see DaSh doing something very, pretty different, if my memory serves me correctly. Forge is on the way alongside a Twilight Council, so we're going to be looking at a +1 timing of some sort.
Yeah, I would say +1 charge, because that's typically what you get +1 with, but we'll see. It may be something different.
Yeah, I really want it to be charged, just because I love seeing the Zealots zoom in and crash into everything, but like you said, a couple of players have been going for +1 blink. Have been experimenting a little bit with +1 blink, but not DaSh. He is true to the traditions and the ways, he is going for +1 charge. With a Templar Archives, a very quick Templar Archives follow-up.
Yeah, DaSh is really taking up quite fast, and we'll see how that works for him, as for now these Oracles were not able to get any damage as they were well prepared for, but we do have these links sneaking in to become Banelings.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you know, DaSh can get away with taking up this hard on 3 bases. And RagnaroK is well aware of that as well, so like you said, the Banelings were on the way. Very good scouting coming out from DaSh. That was a kill and not a cancel, but thankfully most of the Banelings have been taken out. So has the shield battery though, and this just allows RagnaroK to flood Ling after Ling after Ling into the third base, even into the natural base. Oh no!
Yeah.
DaSh unable to split up his army effectively.
Yeah, as DaSh was focused on defending this third base, the wall was open and the natural, and a lot of probes will be falling down. 25 already.
He sent half of his Ling army home, and he was still able to take out 27 Lings. 27 probes. These Lings of RagnaroK are completely insane. And he's taking out the third base.
Yeah, the Nexus goes down. The wall is now being secured, but I mean, a lot of this has been unpowered for a long time, so no warpings either. And how many probes did we lose? 27.
Jeez, for the cost of 41 Lings. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Plus you factor in that Nexus, plus you factor in all of the infrastructure that went down. DaSh is in a lot of trouble. He's even forced to kill his pylon, which just cuts into his budget even more.
Yeah, the Lings are here to destroy the rest of these gates. And once again, that minimizes the production, I guess, of DaSh. And these Lings will be staying here, so the Oracles cannot move freely to the other side of the map anymore because they are needed for the defense.
And at this point, we really have to be wondering, what can DaSh do to get back in this game? Because so far, I liked his plan. I liked the plan that he had to go in with a charge timing, follow it up with Archons to, you know, really just clean everything else up. But that was reliant on having perfect execution and a perfect economy. Now that that's been completely disrupted, what is plan B?
I mean, he better come up with it soon because the Lings are still here checking around. The Archons will deter them for the time being, but I mean, this is not the last thing that RagnaroK is working on. He already had these roach upgrades. He will be transitioning soon.
This is what freedom looks like, really. This is what freedom and map control looks like as a Zerg player. Just get every base, just get all your tech, get your infestation pit, get your drones, and then send out Lings and Banelings to do whatever in the middle of the map. There's no Warp Prism here, so these Archons cannot be juggled, and 3 of them will immediately go down. Looks like a 4th and a 5th as well. Every single Archon of DaSh goes down, and there's nothing holding RagnaroK back. He was getting an infestation pit. He wanted to get to tier 3, but he didn't even need to. GG is called. RagnaroK wins game number 1 off of the back of purely Lings and Banelings.
GG.
Well played, is what I would say. And again, I really, really like the plan that DaSh had here. I really, really liked his build when he was going for the +1 timing. Yes, that's what it was. The +1 charge timing with an Archon follow-up. I think that's very, very potent against Zerg. I think especially if the Zerg player goes for roaches, but even if they go for Banelings, if you can micro well enough, you can still get away with that and at least kill a base or 2 and really cripple your opponent's economy. But maybe he just teched up a little bit too fast, a little bit too much.
Yeah, he did not have the army to defend from the single unbiased. Also, unfortunate, like, his walls were not quite standing there.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
sure.
like he almost had a wall at his third base.
I mean, the third base got
then-
bane busted, so that's a different thing.
Pretty much.
As we
Yeah,
are
really-
here on Dragon Scales, as I quickly switch up the names, and we are looking at the base of the Bluezer player, representing Alpha X and the land of Korea. It is RagnaroK.
And over here in the top left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in that top left-hand corner, we have our red Protoss player coming down from the land of the Philippines, representing it EXO. Until further notice, we have the son of Ender, DaSh.
Son of Ender, you say? As we have a proxy hatch.
Huh. One that immediately got scouted, but
I mean,
DaSh doesn't seem too concerned about it.
you say scouted, but RagnaroK didn't like exactly hide it either.
Yeah. Right up into his face. What are you gonna do about it? That's what I really want to know as well, DaSh. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, I mean, for the time being, he's just, continuing with his build, making his wall, getting his zealot, and I guess that's all he can do really. I don't remember how many probes you need exactly to fight this, but he's just focusing on getting his build order, like, along the way instead.
Yeah, it definitely throws a bit of a wrench in his plans. I'm sure he wanted to go for the Nexus before going for his second gate and what have you, but it's not the biggest of deals here. It is an adjustment you have to make, which is a little bit annoying, but at the same time, RagnaroK did also kind of waste 300 minerals doing this.
Yeah,
It's not producing anything from this hatchery.
He did let the hatchery finish, but that also means that the creep will spread on this base, so DaSh won't be able to take it for a long time. In the meantime, RagnaroK just takes his own natural, just progresses with his side of things.
Huh. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna out and say it. I think this was a little bit of a what's the term that I'm looking for here, Kuro? Not a BM hatch, but a power play.
I mean, you
hatch
say
coming
that.
out from RagnaroK.
You say that, but those Brooklings almost took out the Adept.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely a
they're not pretty
strategy that
useful.
can really throw off your opponent, and already that much damage done to the Adept will mean that it will not get as much harassment either. So it starts pretty well for RagnaroK.
It's useful. It's not just a power move. There's a rationale behind it.
Look, proxy hatching is fun. I have to learn
It
to do it
is.
properly. But
Yeah,
in
one
the
day
end,
he'll be able
DaSh
to
will
rematch
be
him.
taking that Nexus and getting his Stargate once again.
Yeah, and he's pretty safe here in his natural base. I mean, there is a ramp leading up to it, and he's just getting his tech. RagnaroK is going to send out Lings, and it's going to be aggressive in the early game once more. Just trying to see what he can get away with.
Yeah, and we'll see what DaSh can get away with, because once, like, as you said, there is that force of Lings, and they are really trying to chase these Adepts.
The Adept that was weakened goes down, and the other Adept dies as well. So yeah, the Brootlings actually turned out useful. That wall is not a wall?
No,
What?
I was gonna say that does not look like a wall. The Oracle is here to save the day, but that means this wall will need to be flagged.
Yeah, and the Oracle was forced to use a little bit of his energy activating that Pulsar Beam earlier. Yeah, I guess RagnaroK couldn't really do much more than take out that Zealot, but even taking out that Zealot itself, that's just forcing DaSh to waste a little bit of resources, isn't it?
I mean, it's one thing is wasting resources, but also it forces DaSh to stay at home because, there is that danger of RagnaroK running in at any moment, so he cannot just move out with most of his units.
Yeah, now that 2 Oracles are on the way, now DaSh feels comfortable to move out on the other side of the map, but at this point, They're already spore crawlers. They're already queens in position. These oracles aren't going to be able to get much other than scouting information.
Yep.
I don't think RagnaroK. I don't think DaSh has really scouted anything too important just yet.
I mean, there's not much really to scout. There are just 3 bases. There's no additional tech. The lair only started right now. I guess the only thing you would want to scout is the fact that there are still no gases taken, but that's about how much information you can get.
I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out. I just always assumed that at this point, 6 minutes into the game, you know, there's a Roach Warren or a Baneling Nest, but I guess going for that proxy hatch did slow things down a little bit for both of our players.
Yeah, I mean,
see a Roach Warren being thrown down, and DaSh does scout it.
The fact that DaSh was, like, you know, so delayed by this proxy hatch also means that RagnaroK is free to delay his own tech as well, because an attack will not be coming if there are barely any units left, right?
Well, that's what you think.
I mean, fair.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was gonna go into a whole thing if but DaSh, he's getting the Warp Prism. He wants to move out, but he's not gonna move out until at least after he gets a couple of Archons out. And that's gonna take time until he gets a couple of other units, whether it's Stalkers or Zealots out as well.
Yeah, and it looks like he will just be defensive for the time being. He has these oracles circling around, making sure the linger runbys don't do too much damage. There is the Warp Priest though, and it will be doing some Zealot Warp Priest. Zealot? Wait. High Templar Warp. Wait.
No, I think those are Adepts actually.
No, those are High Templars. We're getting Archon drop.
Ah, okay. I didn't know Adepts could morph into Archons, but those are High Templar. Those are High Templar.
Jesus heck.
As the Archons are moving in, I'm liking this from DaSh as well. Because of how conservative he was with his oracles earlier on, it does mean that they were getting a lot of energy. They are able to throw in a couple of stasis wards, catching a couple of queens. Unfortunately, RagnaroK was taking this threat seriously. He was moving his forces towards his main base, and he was able to snipe those stasis wards before they complete. DaSh, once again, not quite able to execute his plan to its full potential.
Yeah, and RagnaroK was already transitioning into roaches anyway, which were one of the best responses to the Archon drops, so they were able to deal with them fairly easily, and now DaSh has to figure out something else, as there are mutas coming in.
I mean, he was getting Inspire earlier on, but I like to think that this is entirely just to chase down the Warp Prism.
I mean, that would be pretty fun.
Get that,
yeah. It's like, never again. Get out.
Yeah. I imagine it's the Zerg equivalent of just making one Viking and parking it outside your main base, you know?
I guess. I don't know if Vikings are more effective than mutas, but sure.
As RagnaroK dips in with his main force of roaches, battery overcharge is popped, but there aren't really a lot of units that can take advantage of that right now. As the Archons and as the Immortals move in, it does force RagnaroK to slow it down and pull back with his forces, but he also knows that because of that, the main and natural are completely exposed.
Yeah, this attack was just a distraction, as the mutas are now there in the natural, and the probes are evacuated to the third base, but the third base is under attack as well.
Everywhere you try to run, there is Zerg. DaSh has had enough of this. He's moving across the map to go for a bit of a base trade, and he may be able to pull this off. I mean, RagnaroK doesn't have a lot of units back home, and he doesn't have a lot of bases either. But now the reinforcements are, the main army is coming back home, and it's 130 supply against 60 Kuro. I'm not sure if DaSh, unless he micros perfectly, will be able to take this.
I feel like even with the perfect micro, it would be quite a crazy situation to be in, as this roach army is cleaning up the entire ground, and GG is called. RagnaroK takes it 2-0.
Very, very nicely played from both of our players here. Very, very solid defense and decision making coming out from RagnaroK, reacting to just about everything DaSh threw his way. DaSh, once again, I really like his builds. I really like the way he thinks about the game and how he plays it out. But unfortunately, he wasn't really able to execute it as well as he would have liked to, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like he got stopped like fairly early on. Like, even if his build would end up turning like good, like he just didn't have the time to finish it.
Yeah. If it weren't for that early game aggression in both game number 1 and game number 2 coming out from RagnaroK, then I think I think DaSh would have had a chance. We would have at least been able to see how the rest of that game played out, but yeah, unfortunately, you're not really gonna have that luxury when you're up against a player as aggressive as RagnaroK.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of aggressive Zerg players, Yaku, what is our next match?
Our next match is going to be our first non-ZvP of the evening. We're going to be jumping into a ZvZ. Some of our viewers were looking out for this. It is, in fact, going to be RagnaroK versus Dark.